The phone rang at 7:20 a.m. on Tuesday. The bank manager's voice was tense. "There's a $150,000 credit card debt in your name. You need to come in immediately." I was shocked beyond words. I clearly remembered that I had frozen my credit a long time ago. 20 minutes later, I rushed to the bank to find out the truth. The manager led me into a private room, opened the file, and turned the screen toward me. Then he said one word that made the blood in my veins freeze. Before we continue, I just want to say how grateful I am that you're here with me. If you're watching right now, take a moment to comment below and tell me where you're tuning in from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. It reminds us that no matter where we are, we connect through shared emotions and experiences. Now let's step back into the story. Also, please note, this narrative includes some fictionalized elements created for storytelling and educational purposes. Any resemblance to real people or settings is purely coincidental, but the message behind it is meaningful and worth reflecting on. The phone vibrated against the granite countertop at exactly 7:20 on a Tuesday morning. I was standing at the kitchen island watching steam curl from my second cup of coffee when the caller ID displayed First National Bank's main line. Something in my chest tightened before I even answered. "Mrs. Hayes." James Parker's voice carried none of its usual warmth. "I'm sorry to call so early, but we have a situation that requires your immediate attention." I set down my mug. "What kind of situation?" "A credit card was opened in your name approximately 6 weeks ago," he said carefully. "The account has been maxed out. The balance is $150,000. I could not process what he had said. I had frozen my credit the week after Robert's funeral, when I was still moving through the world in a fog of grief and paperwork. "That's not possible," I said. "I froze my credit 18 months ago." James hesitated. "The application was approved through an internal verification override. Whoever submitted it knew you have a checking account here with $180,000. You have banked with us for 15 years. The system flagged you as trusted." My mind raced through possibilities: phishing emails, stolen mail data breaches. None of it made sense. "There's more," James said quietly. "Your daughter and son-in-law are here at the bank right now. They arrived 10 minutes ago requesting a wire transfer of $75,000 from your checking account." The room tilted. "My daughter—" "Yes, ma'am, Vanessa Hayes and Tyler Monroe. They're in the lobby. They said you authorized the transfer." I had not authorized anything. I had not spoken to Vanessa in 3 days, not since she stopped by Sunday evening with groceries I had not asked for, lingering to ask pointed questions about my finances. At the time, I thought it was concern. Now the pieces clicked into place. My phone buzzed, a text from Vanessa. "Good morning, Mom. Hope you have a peaceful day. Love you." She was checking, making sure I was home, oblivious while she tried to drain my accounts. I forced my voice to stay calm. "James, listen carefully. I did not authorize any wire transfer. I did not open any credit card. Do not let my daughter and her husband leave that bank." A beat of silence. "Mrs. Hayes, I'm coming there now," I said, already moving toward the hallway where I kept my documents in a fireproof safe. "Do not let them leave. I will be there in 20 minutes. "I understand. I will keep them here." I ended the call and pulled out my driver's license, social security card, and passport. I grabbed the folder with Robert's death certificate and life insurance paperwork. My hands were steady now, my thoughts organized. As I locked the safe and headed for the door, my phone buzzed again. "Let me know if you need anything today. I'm always here for you." I did not respond. I slid the phone into my purse, grabbed my keys, and walked out into the cool morning air. The drive would take 19 minutes. 19 minutes to think through every conversation Vanessa and I had over the past 6 weeks. Every visit, every phone call, every text asking how I was managing Robert's life insurance money. I thought about how she had shown up unannounced 3 Sundays in a row, always with some excuse. How she always steered our conversations toward money, whether I had updated my will, whether I really needed so much cash in a checking account. I had assumed she was worried about me, that she thought I could not manage my own finances after losing Robert. It had stung, but I told myself it came from love. Now, pulling onto the empty street, I understood. It had never been about love. It had been about access. By the time I merged onto the main road, I was no longer shaking. I was already 3 steps ahead. The streets were nearly empty at this hour, and I kept my speed steady as I navigated through the quiet neighborhoods toward downtown Portland. My hands gripped the steering wheel, and the folder of documents sat in the passenger seat beside me. Proof of who I was, proof of what I owned, proof that I had not authorized any of this. 19 minutes. That was how long it would take to reach the bank. 19 minutes to trace back through the past 8 weeks and find the moment I had missed the warning signs. It had been mid-September when Vanessa called from Los Angeles, her voice tight with something I had mistaken for vulnerability. "Mom, I can't stay in LA anymore," she had said. "The relationship is over. I just need some time to figure things out." She had asked if she could stay in the guest house behind my property, the small cottage Robert and I had built years ago for visiting family. I had said yes, immediately. Of course I had said yes. The house had been too quiet since Robert passed, and the idea of having my daughter close again, of not eating dinner alone every night, had felt like a gift. Vanessa had arrived 3 days later with 2 suitcases and a smile I had not seen in years. She'd been attentive in those first weeks, calling me every morning to check in, helping me sort through the mail that still piled up faster than I could manage, asking gentle questions about how I was sleeping, whether I was eating enough. I had been grateful. I had thought she was finally stepping into the role of a supportive daughter. Now, as I turned onto the arterial road that would take me straight into the financial district, I understood what I had been too lonely to see. She had not been checking on me. She had been gathering information. The coffee spill had happened 5 weeks ago. I remembered it clearly now. Vanessa had come into the kitchen one morning while I was sorting through a stack of mail at the table. Bank statements, credit card, offers, a letter from my financial advisor. She'd been holding a mug, and when she reached across the table to grab the sugar, the entire cup had tipped over, flooding the papers with dark liquid. "Oh my God, Mom, I'm so sorry," she had said, scooping up the soaked envelopes before I could react. "Let me clean this up. Don't worry, I'll take care of it." She had thrown everything into the trash before I could stop her apologizing profusely, insisting it was her fault. At the time, I had waved it off. Accidents happened. She had seemed genuinely upset. Emma had installed the Ring doorbell system for me a year ago, right after Robert's funeral, insisting I needed it for safety. She had set up shared access so she could monitor things remotely, something about making sure I was safe living alone. I had never bothered to learn how to review old recordings myself. But now, driving through the cold November morning with my knuckles white against the steering wheel, I replayed the scene in my mind and saw it differently. The way her hand had moved, not clumsy but deliberate. The way she had swept up the papers so quickly, never giving me a chance to salvage anything. The way she had taken the trash out herself that same afternoon, something she had never done before. What had been in that pile of mail? A credit alert. Fraud warning. Something from the bank that would have told me what was happening before it was too late. I pulled into the parking structure at 7:47, exactly 19 minutes after I had left my house. The garage was nearly empty, but I spotted them immediately, Vanessa's black BMW and Tyler's pickup truck parked side by side near the elevator. A coordinated attack, that was what this was. I parked 3 rows back and sat for a moment watching the entrance to the bank through the glass facade. And then I saw her, Vanessa, standing near the front desk, her back to me. She was wearing a camel-colored wool coat I had never seen before, the kind with clean lines and expensive stitching. $4,000, maybe more. New. I turned off the engine and stepped out into the cold November air. My breath fogged in front of me as I locked the car and started walking toward the entrance. I was about to walk into a room where my only child was trying to steal my future. But I had one advantage she did not know about. She did not know I was coming. The glass doors unlocked at exactly 8 o'clock, and I stepped inside before the teller at the front desk had finished switching on the overhead lights. The lobby was still quiet, the air carrying that particular silence of a space not yet filled with voices and movement. I stayed near the entrance, standing behind a display of brochures, and watched. Vanessa was positioned just outside the manager's office, her posture perfect, her expression calm and composed. She looked every inch the successful professional, hair blown out in soft waves, makeup, flawless designer handbag resting in the crook of her elbow. I recognized the bag immediately. It was the kind that required a waiting list. $5,000, maybe $6,000. The watch on her wrist caught the light as she gestured while speaking to the teller. Cartier, gold and diamonds. Another $4,000 at least. I did a quick mental calculation. The coat from yesterday, the bag, the watch, the leather boots I could see from where I stood. Easily $10,000 in new items, possibly more. All purchased within the past 6 weeks. All purchased with money that did not belong to her. Vanessa's voice carried across the lobby, pitched just loud enough for anyone nearby to hear. My mother already authorized this. She's just confused about the timing. She's been struggling with memory issues lately, and I'm trying to help her manage her accounts before things get worse. The teller looked uncomfortable, glancing toward the manager's office. Tyler stood a few feet behind Vanessa, staring down at his phone, his shoulders hunched in a way that told me he wanted to be anywhere but here. James Parker emerged from his office and saw me immediately. His eyes widened slightly, but he gave a single, almost imperceptible nod. He did not announce my presence. He simply stepped back into his office and left the door open. Vanessa checked her watch again and leaned forward slightly, her tone sharpening. I need this wire transfer processed in the next 15 minutes or I'm going to have to call your regional director. My mother is a long-standing client and this delay is unacceptable. The teller stammered something I could not hear, and Vanessa sighed a performance of patience wearing thin. That was when our eyes met across the lobby. For 1 second, maybe less, the mask slipped. I saw surprise, then calculation flash across her face before she rearranged her features into something warm and delighted. "Mom," she said brightly, opening her arms as if to embrace me. "What are you doing here?" I took 1 step back, keeping my distance. James called me about a credit card debt of $150,000, Vanessa. She blinked, cycling through emotions I knew were rehearsed. Confusion, then recognition, then concern. "Oh, Mom, that's the business loan we talked about, remember?" "We have never discussed any loan," I said evenly. Vanessa turned to Tyler, her voice soft and appealing. "Honey, didn't Mom say she wanted to help us with the consulting business? You heard her right." Tyler mumbled something non-committal, still staring at his phone. Vanessa turned back to me, lowering her voice into something that might have sounded compassionate to anyone listening. "Mom, you've been forgetting things lately. A lot of things. I'm really worried about you." The implication hung in the air between us. She was planting seeds, suggesting to anyone within earshot that I was unreliable, that my memory could not be trusted, that I was a confused old woman who needed her daughter to manage her affairs. I looked at her for a long moment, taking in the designer clothes, the confident posture, the carefully constructed performance. Then I spoke loud enough for everyone in the lobby to hear. "I am 62 years old, Vanessa. I taught high school English for over 30 years. I am not confused. I am not forgetting anything. What I am looking at right now is someone wearing stolen money." "Oh," the lobby went silent. The teller froze. Tyler's head snapped up. Vanessa's smile did not move, but something cold flickered behind her eyes. James Parker appeared in the doorway of his office. "Mrs. Hayes, Margaret, would you please come in, just you?" I walked past Vanessa toward the office entrance. Her eyes followed me, sharp and calculating. She took a step forward as if to follow, but James raised one hand. "Just Mrs. Hayes, please." Tyler reached out and pulled her back, his grip tight on her elbow. The door closed behind me with a soft click, and I heard Vanessa's voice rise in the lobby, muffled but insistent. James gestured toward the chair across from his desk. I sat down, placing my folder of documents in my lap, and he turned his computer monitor so I could see the screen. "Mrs. Hayes," he said quietly, "what I'm about to show you is identity theft and elder financial exploitation. I flagged this account yesterday afternoon." He pulled up a credit card application. My name was there. My social security number, my date of birth, my home address. Everything was correct except for one detail. The phone number was not mine. James highlighted the field. "This number has received 47 authentication texts over the past 6 weeks. Every purchase, every security alert was sent here. You never received a single notification." I stared at the screen, my pulse loud in my ears. James clicked through to the transaction ledger. $18,000 to something called Hayes Funeral Services. I felt my chest tighten. "What is that?" He opened a new tab showing me a website for a funeral home I had never heard of. The domain had been registered 5 weeks ago. "It's fake," he said. "Your daughter created a funeral business using your late husband's name. It was not the funeral home I had used for Robert." James scrolled further. $12,000 in luxury retail purchases, $8,000 at high-end spas, $15,000 in cash advances, $22,000 in furniture and electronics. At the bottom of the screen, a pending wire transfer, $75,000 to VH Consulting, LLC. She was going to take another $75,000 today, James said. He pulled up a scanned driver's license. It had my photo pulled from some old database, but the address listed was in Seattle, an apartment I had never lived in. The signature at the bottom was not mine. "How did this get past my credit freeze?" I asked. James leaned back. "Your freeze only applies to external credit bureau checks. You've been a customer here for 15 years with $180,000 in your checking account. The system ran an internal verification instead. Whoever filed this knew exactly how to exploit your banking history." I thought about the coffee spill, the soaked mail, the way Vanessa had thrown everything away before I could look at it. "The application was submitted at 2 a.m. from a coffee shop," James continued. "Approved within 3 days, maxed out within 5 weeks. I sat in silence staring at the screen. My name, my life, my money. All of it weaponized against me. "Yimsa," I said slowly, "you mentioned you flagged suspicious activity before this." His expression darkened. He glanced toward the closed door where I could still hear Vanessa's voice demanding to know what was happening. "Mrs. Hayes, 3 weeks ago, your daughter sat in this exact chair. She brought a medical power of attorney document claiming you were cognitively impaired. She tried to add her name to your $400,000 savings account." The phrase medical power of attorney landed like a physical blow. I gripped the armrest of the chair, my knuckles going white. James clicked through his notes from 3 weeks earlier. "She came in alone. She had a notarized document claiming you were suffering from early-onset dementia and progressive cognitive decline. It was signed by a Dr. Nathan Anderson, neurologist, Portland Medical Center. She wanted joint ownership of your $400,000 savings account." I could barely breathe, and you stopped her. "Bank policy requires the primary account holder to verify any changes in person," James said. I flagged the request immediately. A memory surfaced sharp and sudden. 3 weeks ago, Vanessa had called me in the late afternoon. "Mom, the bank needs you to update your beneficiary forms, just routine paperwork. Can you go in tomorrow?" I had gone the next day confused because I had not requested any updates. James had met me in the same office and asked a series of questions that had seemed oddly personal at the time. My date of birth, my social security number, my home address, Robert's middle name, details about my teaching career, which school, which grade levels, how many years. I had been bewildered. Why was I being tested? Now I understood. James had been checking my cognitive function, making sure I was not confused or disoriented, making sure I knew who I was and what I owned. "You were testing me," I said quietly, "to see if I was actually impaired." James nodded. "You passed every question without hesitation. I made a note in your file, potential financial exploitation monitor account activity." I thought about how Vanessa had reacted when I came home that afternoon and mentioned the bank visit. She'd gone very still, then asked in a careful voice whether everything had gone smoothly. I had said yes, not understanding why she looked so tense. "She left angry," James said. "She told me I was interfering in a private family matter. She said you were too proud to admit you needed help." The credit card fraud made sense now. It was not the first attempt. It was the second. When the medical power of attorney failed, Vanessa had simply found another way in. My phone vibrated in my purse. I pulled it out and saw my sister's name on the screen. "Emma." I answered and put it on speaker. "Emma, I'm at the bank right now." "I know. Margaret, after you called me this morning about the fraud, I went back through the Ring footage. I've been checking it periodically since I installed the system for you, just to make sure you're safe. I found something from 5 weeks ago. The coffee spill. She did it on purpose." My chest went cold. James leaned forward, listening. "I'm sending you the video right now," Emma said. The doorbell camera has a partial view into the kitchen through the hallway. You need to see this." James turned his monitor toward me and opened his email client. 30 seconds later, the message appeared. He clicked the attachment and a video player opened on the screen. The footage was grainy but clear enough. My kitchen viewed from the angle of the front door camera with a partial sightline through the hallway. Vanessa entered the frame carrying a mug of coffee. She glanced around once toward the hallway, once toward the stairs, and then tipped the mug directly onto the stack of mail sitting on the counter. She did not flinch. She did not react like someone who had just made a mistake. She simply waited, watching the liquid spread across the envelopes. Then she reached into the pile, sorting through the wet papers with deliberate movements. She pulled out 2 specific envelopes, slid them into the pocket of her jacket, and threw the rest into the trash. Only then did she call out, her voice bright and panicked. "Mom, I had an accident." The video froze on her face. There was no panic there, no guilt, just a cold, calculated satisfaction. She was executing a plan, I whispered. James's expression was grim. "Mrs. Hayes, we need to call the police." Emma Morrison walked into the bank at 8:27, holding her phone like a weapon. She moved through the lobby with the kind of purpose that made people step aside, and when she reached the door of James's office, she did not knock. "Are you okay?" she asked, her eyes scanning my face. "I am now, I said. Emma turned to James. "I'm Emma Morrison, Margaret's sister. I have additional evidence." James gestured for her to come in. Emma set her phone on the desk and opened a folder of video files. "These aren't just the coffee spill," she said. "After Margaret called me this morning, I went back through weeks of ring footage. There's more." She played the first clip. The timestamp read 2 o'clock in the morning, 5 weeks ago, the night before the coffee incident. The grainy footage showed Vanessa leaving the guest house and walking across the backyard. She used a key to unlock the back door of the main house and moved quietly through the kitchen. She went straight to the pile of mail on the counter, picked up several envelopes, and photographed them with her phone. Then she left, locking the door behind her. "She stole your mail in the middle of the night," Emma said. "Then she staged the coffee spill the next morning to cover her tracks." James leaned closer to the screen. "Where is this footage from?" "Ring doorbell at Margaret's front door," Emma said. "I installed it for her after Robert passed and set up shared access so I could help monitor things. Margaret never learned how to review old footage herself. When she called me this morning about the fraud, I went back through weeks of recordings." She played another clip. This one showed Vanessa entering the house on a different afternoon when I was not home. She walked into my home office and opened drawers, flipping through files. She photographed my driver's license, bank statements, and passport, holding each document up to the light to capture every detail. "She was gathering everything she needed to steal your identity," Emma said quietly. The office door opened and Vanessa appeared in the doorway. Her face went pale when she saw Emma, then shifted immediately to fury. "Aunt Emma," she said, her voice dripping with contempt. "Of course, poisoning Mom against me just like always." Emma did not flinch. "I don't need to poison anyone. The bank records speak for themselves." Vanessa raised her voice loud enough for the customers in the lobby to hear. "You've always been jealous of my relationship with my mother. You want to isolate her so you can control her money. It was textbook manipulation. Deny the accusation, attack the accuser, reverse the roles of victim and offender." "Vanessa, stop," I said. She turned to me, her voice breaking into something that might have sounded like tears to someone who did not know better. "Mom, Aunt Emma is trying to have you declared incompetent so she can take Dad's life insurance money. She's the one you should be investigating." Emma did not take the bait. She simply pulled up another video file and handed the phone to James. I looked at my daughter and felt something harden inside me. "I've seen the transaction ledger, Vanessa, Hayes Funeral Services. You created a fake funeral home using your father's name and billed me $18,000. For just a second, the mask cracked. Vanessa's face twisted into something raw and resentful. "That money should have been mine anyway. Dad would have wanted me to have it." There it was, the entitlement. The belief that everything I had was somehow owed to her. She caught herself almost immediately and rearranged her expression back into concerned daughter. But it was too late. I had seen what was underneath. Vanessa pulled out her phone and pointed it at me, her thumb hovering over the record button. I'm documenting this for medical records, she announced loudly. Mom, what year is it? Do you know where you are right now? She was trying to create evidence that I was confused, that I needed her help, that everything she had done was justified. James stepped between Vanessa and the phone. Miss Hayes, stop recording in my bank, and I'm calling the police. If you're still here with me, comment, I'm still here. Let me know you're standing with this story. And tell me if you were in that bank watching someone you once trusted twist the truth in front of everyone. Would you stay calm and strategic, or would you confront them right there? Because the next moment shifts everything. And before we continue, please keep in mind the next part of this narrative contains dramatized elements created for storytelling impact. Some details may not fully reflect real-life situations. If this type of content isn't for you, you're free to step away at this point. When Vanessa's fingers moved to dial 3 numbers, I knew exactly what she was about to do, and it was the most dangerous move she could make. 911, I need help immediately. My chest tightened. I understood instantly. I'm at First National Bank downtown with my elderly mother. She's having an aggressive episode. She's threatening to harm herself. James's eyes snapped to me. I kept my face neutral, forced my breathing to stay even. Vanessa continued, her voice breaking in all the right places. She has a documented history of mental illness and dementia. She's refusing to take her medication. I'm her designated caregiver, and she's becoming a danger to herself and others. Every word was a lie delivered with Oscar-worthy conviction. I spoke clearly, loud enough for everyone in the lobby to hear. My name is Margaret Elizabeth Hayes. I am 62 years old. I have no intention of harming myself. I am not mentally ill. I am not a danger. My daughter has committed identity theft and is filing a false police report. Tyler finally spoke up. Vanessa, what the hell? You said your mom agreed to help us. Vanessa ignored him. Yes, I'll stay on the line. Please send medical personnel immediately. She's becoming increasingly agitated. Emma held up her phone. I'm recording this. Margaret is completely lucid. James was on another line. Detective Ramirez James Parker at First National downtown. Elder exploitation case in progress with a false psychiatric emergency report. I need officers here now. Through the glass doors, I saw the ambulance pull up, lights flashing. Vanessa smiled, a terrible expression utterly without mercy. Emma gripped my hand. Breathe. Stay calm. When the medics come in, you need to be the calmest person in this room. I understood what was at stake. If Vanessa succeeded in getting me placed on a 72-hour psychiatric hold, she would have time to execute the wire transfer file for guardianship and seize everything. A legal kidnapping plot. 2 paramedics walked in carrying their gear, scanning the lobby. One older woman standing calmly with her sister, one younger woman crying into a phone, tense bank employees. The lead paramedic looked around. Who called 911? Vanessa raised her hand, her voice trembling. I did. My mother, she threatened to harm herself. She has dementia. She needs to be hospitalized. The paramedic's eyes moved from Vanessa's performance to my composed posture. I saw the exact moment she began to question who was really in crisis. The second paramedic stepped forward. Ma'am, I'm Jennifer Martinez. Can you tell me your name? Margaret Elizabeth Hayes, I said steadily. I'm 62 years old. Today is Tuesday. We're at First National Bank on 3rd Avenue. I did not threaten to harm myself. I have no history of mental illness. My daughter is attempting to have me involuntarily committed so she can steal my money. Jennifer glanced at her partner, then at Vanessa. And you are... Vanessa Hayes. I'm her daughter and caregiver. She pulled out her phone. I have video documentation of her confusion. Ma'am, please put the phone away. Jennifer said firmly. James stepped forward. I'm the bank manager. Mrs. Hayes is a client of 15 years. She came in this morning after discovering her daughter committed identity theft and credit card fraud, totaling $150,000. Her daughter also attempted to fraudulently obtain a medical power of attorney 3 weeks ago. Mrs. Hayes passed every cognitive assessment. Jennifer turned back to me. Mrs. Hayes, do you know what day of the week it is? Tuesday. Who is the current president? I answered correctly. Can you count backward from 100 by sevens? I did without hesitation. Jennifer looked at Vanessa. Ma'am, your mother appears fully oriented. We have no grounds for involuntary transport. Vanessa's face twisted. She's manipulating you. She does this. She seems fine and then she becomes violent. The glass doors opened. 2 police officers walked in. Detective Maria Ramirez was right behind them. Jennifer Martinez. The lead paramedic turned her full attention to me. In the next 90 seconds, my entire future hung in the balance. "Ma'am, I'm Jennifer. Can you tell me your name and what day it is?" I kept my voice steady. "Margaret Elizabeth Hayes. It's Tuesday, November 14th, 2023. I'm at First National Bank on Southwest 5th Avenue in Portland, Oregon. Perfect orientation, person, place, time. Do you know why we're here?" My daughter called and claimed I was having a psychiatric crisis. I am not. I've discovered she committed identity theft and fraud against me totaling $150,000. I pulled out my passport and driver's license. I can answer any questions you need to verify my competency. Vanessa interrupted. She's very good at hiding symptoms. The delusions come and go. You need to help her before she hurts herself. Jennifer raised one hand. "Ma'am, please step back while I complete my assessment," the second paramedic observed. My eye contact direct and steady, my speech clear and organized, my demeanor appropriately concerned but not frantic, my hands no tremor. No signs of acute psychiatric crisis. Do you feel like you want to harm yourself or anyone else? No? Are you currently taking any psychiatric medications? No, I'm not under psychiatric care. I have no history of mental illness. I spoke clearly. I'm a retired elementary school teacher. I taught 3rd grade for just over 30 years at Harrison Elementary School. I retired 18 months ago when my husband passed away. Would you like me to recite my home address, phone number, and my late husband's social security number to verify cognitive function? Jennifer exchanged a glance with her partner. "Ma'am, I don't see any indicators that you meet the criteria for involuntary hold. You're alert, well-oriented, and responding appropriately." Vanessa's voice turned shrill. "This is negligence. She needs to be evaluated. You're not doing your job." The glass doors opened. Detective Maria Ramirez stepped inside her badge, visible. "I'm Detective Maria Ramirez, Financial Crimes Unit," she said. "James Parker called about an elder exploitation case." Jennifer nodded. "The patient is alert and oriented. There's no psychiatric emergency. The 911 call appears to be unfounded." Detective Ramirez turned to Vanessa. "Miss Hayes filing a false emergency report is a crime. I need you to remain here while I verify information." Vanessa's composure cracked. "I don't have to stay. I haven't done anything illegal." "No one is leaving," Detective Ramirez said flatly. James stepped forward with a thick folder. "Detective, this is documentation of the fraudulent medical power of attorney attempt, the falsified credit application, the fake identification, and evidence of mail theft. Mrs. Margaret Hayes is the victim. Her daughter is the perpetrator." Detective Ramirez took the folder and began flipping through the pages. "Mrs. Hayes, I need a formal statement. Walk me through what happened. 6 weeks ago, a credit card was opened in my name without my knowledge. My daughter used a different phone number to intercept all authentication texts. She maxed out $150,000 before the bank flagged the activity. And the medical power of attorney. 3 weeks ago, she attempted to have me declared cognitively impaired so she could access my savings account. The bank manager verified I was competent. She was denied. So this morning's incident was her 3rd attempt. When the first 2 failed, she escalated. She called 911 claiming I was suicidal to have me involuntarily committed. If I'd been placed on a 72-hour hold, she would have had time to complete the wire transfer and file for emergency guardianship. Detective Ramirez closed the folder. "Miss Hayes, I need you to come with me to the station for questioning." Vanessa's face went pale. "I want a lawyer." "That's your right, but you're coming with me now." Detective Ramirez led us into the bank's conference room, evidence spread across the table like pieces of a puzzle, finally coming together. Vanessa and Tyler remained in the lobby with a uniformed officer. Through the glass walls, I could see Vanessa pacing her phone, pressed to her ear, calling her lawyer, probably. Inside the conference room, Emma sat on my left, James on my right. Detective Ramirez arranged documents with methodical precision, building the case piece by piece. "Mrs. Hayes walked me through the timeline," she said, pen poised over her notepad. I took a breath. My husband Robert passed away 18 months ago. Heart attack. He was 64. He was a civil engineer. His life insurance policy paid out $400,000. Detective Ramirez nodded. And you froze your credit when? Immediately, the week after his funeral. I knew widows were targets. Smart, she said. When did your daughter move in? 6 weeks ago. She called from Los Angeles, said a relationship had ended. She asked if she could stay in the guest house while she got back on her feet. I said yes. My voice caught slightly. I thought she was trying to help me. She called every morning, sorted through my mail, asked how I was doing. The coffee spill happened 5 weeks ago. Yes, I thought it was an accident. James leaned forward. The envelopes she destroyed contained fraud alerts about suspicious credit activity. They were mailed from the credit card company the week after the application was approved. Detective Ramirez held up the fake driver's license. This has your photo, Mrs. Hayes, but the address listed is in Seattle, your daughter's old apartment, and this signature is clearly not yours. Emma pushed her tablet across the table. Detective, I compiled the Ring camera footage. You'll see the pattern. Detective Ramirez watched the videos in silence, her jaw tightening. Mail tampering at 2 a.m, then staging the coffee spill the next morning to cover the theft. That's a federal crime. James slid the medical power of attorney documents across the table. 3 weeks ago, she attempted to seize $400,000 in savings. I required direct verification. Mrs. Hayes passed every cognitive test. I flagged the account for potential exploitation. Detective Ramirez made a note. So the credit card fraud was her second attempt after the POA failed. Correct, James said. Detective Ramirez turned to me. Mrs. Hayes, do you want to press charges? I sat in silence for a long moment. Memories flickered through my mind. Vanessa at 10 years old, laughing in the backyard. Vanessa at 16, sullen and distant. Vanessa at 25, asking for money she never paid back. When had it changed? Or had I simply refused to see what was always there? Yes, I said quietly. I want to press charges. Detective Ramirez began listing them. Identity theft, Class C felony, maximum 5 years. Elder financial exploitation, Class B felony, maximum 10 years with aggravating factors. Forgery of government documents, Class C felony, 5 years. Mail tampering, federal crime, 5 years. Filing a false emergency report, Class A misdemeanor, 1 year. Attempted fraudulent guardianship, Class B felony. She looked up. Maximum exposure is 26 years. Realistically, with a plea deal, she's looking at 8 to 10. The numbers felt both abstract and crushing. Detective Ramirez stood and walked to the door. Bring in Vanessa Hayes. A moment later, the door opened. Vanessa stepped inside her camel coat, still perfect, her expression arranged into wounded innocence. Detective Ramirez placed the fake driver's license on the table. Miss Hayes, this has your mother's photograph but lists an address in Seattle, your former residence. The signature is not your mother's. Explain how this document was created. Vanessa looked at the evidence, then at me, then at the detective. I watched her face cycle through calculations, deny, deflect, attack. Then she spoke. She gave me permission, for all of it. She wanted to help me with my consulting business. Now she's embarrassed and trying to backtrack. Detective Ramirez pulled out a pair of handcuffs and set them on the table with a metallic click that sounded like a door slamming shut. Mrs. Hayes, did you give your daughter permission to open a credit card in your name? No. Did you apply for this credit card? No. Did you sign this driver's license? She tapped the fake ID. That is not my signature. Did you authorize a wire transfer to VH Consulting? I didn't know it existed until today. Vanessa's voice rose. She's lying. She's embarrassed because she changed her mind. Detective Ramirez turned to her. Miss Hayes, your mother's credit has been frozen for 18 months. She could not have applied even if she wanted to. Unfreezing credit requires specific authentication. Verbal permission does not override identity theft laws. She gestured to the uniformed officer. Bring in Mr. Monroe. Tyler entered, his face pale. Detective Ramirez pointed to a chair. Mr. Monroe, what did your wife tell you about this money? Tyler spoke carefully. She said her mom agreed to co-sign a business loan. She showed me text messages where her mom said she agreed. Did you speak directly to Mrs. Hayes? No, but Vanessa showed me the messages. Do you still have them? Tyler pulled out his phone and handed it over. Detective Ramirez scrolled through, then looked up. These messages are from a contact labeled Mom, but the phone number belongs to your wife. She texted herself and showed you a fake conversation. Tyler's face drained of color. He turned to Vanessa. You said she agreed. You showed me proof. Vanessa's voice turned sharp. That's not your twisting. Were you present when your wife submitted the application? Detective Ramirez asked. No, I thought it was legal. But you drove here to collect the wire transfer. She said it was family money. She said her mom was being difficult about paperwork. Detective Ramirez stood. Vanessa Hayes, you're under arrest for identity theft, elder financial exploitation, forgery, mail, tampering, filing a false police report, and attempted fraudulent guardianship. She began reading the Miranda rights. Vanessa's face shifted from fear to fury. This is insane. She's my mother. This is a family matter. The officer moved behind her. Turn around. Hands behind your back. The handcuffs clicked into place. Vanessa looked at me, her voice breaking. You're doing this. You're sending your own daughter to prison. I kept my voice steady. I'm not sending you anywhere. You did this to yourself. Vanessa's voice turned to a scream. Dad would be ashamed of you. I'm your daughter. You're supposed to help me. Emma stepped forward, her voice ice cold. Robert was ashamed of you. He told me before he died that you'd asked him for money 3 times. He refused every time. He changed his will to protect Margaret from you. Vanessa's face went white, then purple with rage. The officer guided her toward the door. She twisted back one last time and the mask fell away completely. I saw it in her eyes. No remorse, no shame, no fear. Only cold hatred. She hissed at me. You're going to regret this. Both of you. Now you're alone, aren't you? Dad's gone and you arrested your only child. What kind of mother are you? I stood up and looked her straight in the eyes. The kind who won't let anyone, not even you, destroy me. The kind who finally sees you for who you really are. The lobby doors closed. The police car pulled away. I stood at the window and watched until the taillights disappeared. And I realized something. I had seen that expression of hatred for months. I had just refused to see it. After the police car pulled away, Detective Ramirez turned to Tyler, a weak man realizing his only chance to save himself. Mr. Monroe, you cooperate or you're charged as an accomplice. Your choice. Tyler crumbled. I'll tell you everything. I didn't know this was illegal. I thought it was a family matter. When did the planning start? 6 months ago, after Margaret's husband died. Vanessa became obsessed with the life insurance money. She called her dad asking for money before he passed, and he refused. When he died and everything went to Margaret, Vanessa lost it. Emma made a small sound. I squeezed her hand. Tyler continued, his voice shaking. She started researching. Stayed up nights reading about guardianship laws, elder care facilities, power of attorney documents. She said Margaret was wasting money keeping it in the bank. She said it was family money, and she deserved her share. Did you know about the fake identification? I knew she had someone help with documents. She said a friend could make official paperwork. I didn't ask much. I thought her mom had agreed to help. Who helped falsify the medical documents? A guy named Martin, ex-boyfriend from college. He dropped out of medical school, but Vanessa said he still had letterhead, could write official diagnoses. She told him her mom was sick and refusing treatment. Martin's last name, Anderson. Martin Anderson. Vanessa called him Dr. Nathan Anderson in the paperwork. I need his contact information. Tyler gave everything: address, phone number, text messages between Vanessa and Martin. Detective Ramirez closed her notepad. You're not being arrested today, but tomorrow morning you come to the station for a formal statement. Get your own lawyer. Separate from your wife. Tyler left defeated. Detective Ramirez turned to me. Mrs. Hayes, your daughter planned this meticulously for 6 months. You were in serious danger. If the guardianship had succeeded, you could have been forcibly placed in a care facility while she liquidated your assets. Emma drove me home. My hands were shaking too hard to drive. We arrived in the late afternoon light. Everything looked wrong in its ordinariness. I looked at the guest house. Vanessa had lived there for 2 months. "Want to see what's inside?" Emma asked. I nodded. Inside, designer bags sat on the floor. Receipts were scattered everywhere. A laptop sat open on the desk left behind in her rush. Emma took photos before we touched anything. A notebook sat on the desk. Vanessa's handwriting covered the pages. Mom's daily schedule, tracked by the hour. Override codes, bypass, freeze, research notes. A timeline: week 1 move-in, week 2 build trust, week 3 access documents, week 4 credit application, week 6 medical POA, week 8 wire transfer. An 8-week plan to destroy me laid out like a business project. "Margaret, look at this," Emma said, holding up a printed document. A guardianship petition, fully completed, ready to file, dated for next week. Emergency guardianship due to immediate danger from subject's cognitive decline and medication non-compliance. I sat down hard on the bed staring at the evidence. Emma, I welcomed her here. I was so grateful she came back. I thought I had my daughter again. Emma pulled me close. "Come on, let's leave this room. We're changing the locks tonight. Tomorrow we file for a restraining order." We walked back to the main house. My phone rang. Detective Ramirez. "Mrs. Hayes, we found something else. Security camera footage from outside the guest house you need to see. Can we come back?" Detective Ramirez returned 3 hours later with a laptop, her expression telling me the final puzzle piece was something I never wanted completed. "Mrs. Hayes, the security camera outside the guest house, the one you installed last year to protect shared property." She set the laptop on the kitchen table. Emma sat beside me. The footage was dated 5 weeks ago, 2 in the morning. Vanessa left the guest house, walked to the main house with a key, entered and went straight to the kitchen counter where I kept my mail. She photographed documents with her phone, took several envelopes, and returned to the guest house. The next morning, the dramatic coffee spill performance. She had a key, access. She could do anything while you were sleeping. Detective Ramirez opened another file. Search history from her laptop during the weeks she lived here. She showed me printed pages. How to prove parent mentally incompetent. Emergency guardianship, Oregon. Can adult children access parents' life insurance? What happens if widow dies without will? Each search was another nail in a coffin. Detective Ramirez hesitated. "There's one more. Tyler mentioned she'd been researching guardianship for months. We found a search from 6 months ago. How long does investigation last after suspicious death?" The kitchen tilted. "What does that mean? Mrs. Hayes, how did your husband pass away?" "Heart attack, 18 months ago. He was 64. He had a history of heart problems. Natural causes. Was anyone with him?" "Vanessa was visiting that weekend. I found him collapsed in his study. I called 911. Emma interrupted. "Margaret, I need to tell you something. I've kept this quiet for 18 months. My sister's voice shook. "Robert called me 3 nights before he died. Late. He said Vanessa had asked him for $50,000 for a business opportunity. He refused. The next day, she asked again with a different story, emergency debt. He refused again. Emma's eyes filled. He said, "I'm worried about Vanessa. Something's not right. She's not asking for help. She's demanding." When I said no, the way she looked at me, I was afraid of my own daughter. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because 2 days later, he was gone. The funeral, you were destroyed. Vanessa played the perfect grieving daughter. I thought maybe Robert was under stress, overthinking." Emma wiped her eyes. "But Margaret, at that funeral, I watched her. She didn't shed a single tear. When the lawyer read the will, I saw her calculating on her phone. When she realized the life insurance went entirely to you, her face went cold. Angry." Detective Ramirez spoke carefully. "Mrs. Hayes, here's what's clear. Your husband's passing was ruled natural causes. Heart attack. There's no evidence of harm. After 18 months, there's no physical evidence to reopen the case. I'm sorry. Whatever happened, we'll never know for certain." I nodded. I had expected this. However, Detective Ramirez continued, "The search we found was conducted 1 week before your husband passed away. Can you cause a heart attack and symptoms of stopping nitrate medication? Phew, we can't charge her for Robert's passing, but we can introduce this during sentencing to show a pattern of systematic behavior. The judge will see who she really is." I whispered, Are you saying my daughter caused her father's death? Detective Ramirez met my eyes. I'm saying she researched investigations into suspicious passings months before stealing your savings. I'm saying she planned for months to seize your assets. I'm saying she called 911 claiming you wanted to harm yourself, which could have ended very differently. Mrs. Hayes, do you feel safe staying in this house tonight? Emma insisted on staying at the main house that night. I was grateful because every shadow felt like my daughter's calculated hatred. The 24-hour locksmith arrived at 6 in the evening. I watched him change every lock front door, back door, guest house, garage. Do you want the old keys to still work or a completely new system? New, everything. Nothing from before. It felt symbolic, locking Vanessa out completely. $800. I did not care. After the locksmith left, Emma cooked dinner. I pushed food around my plate, unable to swallow. You need to eat something. I can't stop thinking about Robert. Tell me about the day he died, the timeline. Emma had written everything in her phone notes after the funeral, her way of processing grief. Now she opened them. Saturday morning. Robert was fine, working in his study on engineering blueprints. Noon, Vanessa arrived for a visit. 2 in the afternoon, you went to the grocery store. I nodded, remembering. While you were gone, Vanessa and Robert had a private conversation. 4 o'clock, you came home. 6 o'clock, Robert complained of chest tightness. 7 o'clock, you were cooking dinner. Robert was in his study. 7:30, Vanessa went in to check on him. 7:35, Vanessa screamed that he had collapsed. Emma's voice went quiet. She was alone with him for 5 minutes. I stared at my untouched plate. The paramedics came. Robert was already gone. Massive heart attack. The autopsy confirmed natural causes based on his cardiac history. But what could someone do in 5 minutes? Emma met my eyes. Hide medication. His nitroglycerin was in his desk drawer. Did she take it? Do something to trigger the attack, or just stand there and watch him collapse instead of calling for help immediately? We'll never know. The detective is reviewing the case. Maybe. I cut her off. Even if we suspect, even if we wonder, we'll never prove it. That's what she counted on. We sat in silence as darkness settled outside. Finally, Emma asked the question we had been avoiding. Why did I really drive down here yesterday? Emma was quiet for a long time. Because Vanessa stopped answering my texts 2 weeks ago. When I called you, you sounded distant, disconnected. I remembered Robert's warning before he died. Watch out for Margaret if anything happens to me. She looked at me. So I came. I reached across the table and gripped my sister's hand. Thank you for keeping your promise to Robert. We sat together in the kitchen with its new locks that my daughter's keys would never open again. I thought about the ways we try to keep danger outside, not realizing we sometimes invite it in, wearing the face of someone we love. Emma would sleep on the couch tonight. Tomorrow would be lawyers, restraining orders, rebuilding safety. Tonight, I just held my sister's hand and felt the full weight of what I had survived. The house was quiet, the locks were changed, but I knew sleep would not come easily. Every time I closed my eyes, I would see that expression on Vanessa's face as the police led her away. Not remorse, not fear, just cold fury that her plan had failed. I thought about Robert's last weekend, the way Vanessa had smiled at breakfast that Saturday morning, the way she had kissed him on the cheek before he went to his study. Had she already decided? Had she already planned it? Margaret, Emma said softly, stop, you'll drive yourself mad with those questions. How do you live with not knowing? Because Robert loved you. He warned me to protect you. He knew what she was, even if he couldn't say it out loud. He made sure you would be protected after he was gone. He changed his will 2 months before he died. He told me he was doing it. He said Vanessa had become someone he didn't recognize. I squeezed Emma's hand tighter. Outside, the November wind rattled the windows. Inside, with new locks and my sister beside me, I was finally truly safe. The prosecutor's office called 3 weeks after the arrest. Assistant District Attorney Catherine Walsh wanted to discuss the aggressive defense strategy. I sat across from Catherine in her downtown office. Emma had driven down from Seattle again. Catherine spread files across her desk. Your daughter has hired an expensive lawyer. They're claiming you have dementia, that you agreed to everything, and now you're confused and changing your story. She opened her laptop and turned it toward me. She secretly recorded you over the past 2 months. The video showed ordinary moments, me asking where I put my keys, asking the same question twice because I was distracted forgetting a neighbor's name. We need to prove your competency beyond any doubt. You'll undergo a court-appointed neurologist's cognitive assessment, a psychiatric evaluation, and a financial competency test. I'll do whatever is necessary. Catherine smiled slightly. Good news, Martin Anderson is cooperating. The ex-boyfriend from college who dropped out of medical school. He's pleaded guilty to document forgery and agreed to testify. He says Vanessa told him you were sick and refusing treatment. He's getting probation instead of prison in exchange for his testimony. What about Tyler? Tyler Monroe is testifying for the prosecution, too. She slid printed text messages across the desk. Tyler. How much longer until we get the money? Vanessa. Once I have guardianship, we'll have everything. The house, the insurance, all of it. Tyler. What about your mom? Vanessa, she'll be in a facility. She won't know the difference. The messages proved premeditation, conspiracy, and cold calculation. The Ring doorbell footage is invaluable. She can't claim consent when she's caught on camera stealing mail at 2 a.m. The coffee shop security footage shows your daughter at a computer at the exact timestamp the credit application was filed. The IP address matches. What is she facing? Catherine listed them. Identity theft, Class C felony, maximum 5 years. Elder financial exploitation, Class B felony, 10 years with aggravating factors. Forgery, Class C felony, 5 years. Federal mail tampering, 5 years. Filing a false report, Class A misdemeanor, 1 year. Maximum exposure is 26 years. Realistically, a plea deal would be 8 to 10 years. But she's refusing to plead. She wants to go to trial. She thinks she can convince a jury she's the victim. Catherine's voice turned sharp. Mrs. Hayes, there's one more thing. The detective reviewed your husband's passing. The medical examiner found nothing suspicious. After 18 months, there's no physical evidence to reopen the case. Whatever happened, we'll never know for certain. I had expected this. I nodded. However, the search found your daughter's computer search history. Searches conducted the week before your husband passed away. She pushed papers across the desk. Can you cause a heart attack? Symptoms of stopping nitrate medication. Signs of cardiac emergency. I stared at the words. We can't charge her for Robert's passing, but we can introduce this during the sentencing phase to show a pattern of behavior. The judge will see who she really is. I looked at those searches evidence that my daughter had researched how to end her father's life. Evidence that could never support charges, but evidence that would follow her into any courtroom. When is the trial? 10 weeks, February. I'll be ready. Catherine gathered the files. The defense will try to paint you as a confused, vindictive mother. They'll bring up every time you forgot something, every moment of normal aging. They'll say you welcomed her home, gave her access, and now you're embarrassed and lashing out. Let them try. Emma squeezed my hand. Catherine met my eyes. Mrs. Hayes, this will be hard. You'll sit in that courtroom and listen to your daughter lie. You'll watch her perform for the jury. Can you do that? I thought about Robert, about the coffee spill, about the fake funeral home, about the medical power of attorney, about the 911 call claiming I wanted to harm myself. Yes, I said, I can do that. The courtroom on a cold February morning. I sat on the witness stand telling 12 strangers how my daughter had tried to erase me. The trial lasted 4 days. The prosecution presented ring footage bank records, falsified documents, and witnesses. I testified for 2 hours. The grief of widowhood, Vanessa's performance of care, the coffee spill, the medical power of attorney scheme, the 911 call. The defense cross-examined, trying to suggest I was confused. I answered every question clearly and precisely, dates, times, amounts, my teaching career, my retirement conditions, details from Robert's death certificate. The court-appointed neurologist testified. Mrs. Hayes shows no cognitive impairment. Memory, reasoning, and executive function are all above average for her age. Martin Anderson took the stand crying. He admitted forging the medical letter, explained how Vanessa's manipulation made him think he was helping a sick woman. Tyler provided the text messages, testified about the planning, accepted 2 years probation in exchange for cooperation. James Parker explained the technical details of the bank fraud. Emma testified about the ring footage and Robert's final phone call. Vanessa took the stand against her lawyer's advice. She cried, claimed she was only trying to help, said I had wanted to fund her business, said I had forgotten what I agreed to. The performance was flawless until the cross-examination. Why did you change your mother's phone number? She fumbled. Why did you create a fake funeral home using your father's name? A misunderstanding about expenses. Why did you steal mail at 2 a.m? To organize it? Why did you call 911 claiming she wanted to harm herself when 3 professionals assessed her as stable? She became defensive, angry. The jury watched the mask fall. Deliberation took 5 hours, guilty on all counts. 2 weeks later at the sentencing hearing, Catherine allowed me to read my victim impact statement. I stood and faced the courtroom. Your Honor, the most painful part was not the money or the betrayal. It was realizing every call, every visit, every "I love you, Mom," for 2 years was a lie. I buried my husband, then discovered I never had a daughter, only someone wearing her face, waiting for an opportunity. But I want other victims to know you can fight back. You can choose yourself over family loyalty. You can survive. I'm standing here because I refuse to be erased. The judge sentenced swiftly. Miss Hayes, you exploited your mother's grief in the most calculated way. You deliberately tried to have her declared incompetent and committed to a facility. This was not a mistake. This was a sustained campaign to destroy your mother's life. 8 years federal prison, 5 years supervised release, full restitution. Catherine entered the search history about causing heart attacks into the record. The judge referenced it. While we cannot charge for the father's passing, this court notes a pattern of deeply disturbing behavior. Vanessa was led away. She turned back one final time. No tears, no apology, just a whisper. You'll die alone. I looked her straight in the eyes. I was already alone the entire time you were there. Now that you're gone, I'm finally not alone anymore. Emma took my arm and we walked out into the February sunlight. It's over, Emma said. I shook my head. Not over. This is the beginning. The support group met every Thursday evening in the church basement. They understood that family was not always blood. Sometimes it was 15 strangers who understood survival. 6 months after the trial, I co-facilitated the Elder Abuse Survivors group with Detective Ramirez. Tonight there was a new member. Linda, 70 years old, trembling. Her son had stolen $90,000. I sat beside her. I know exactly how that feels. The worst part is not the money. It's realizing the person you trusted most was counting on your love to keep you blind. She cried. But he's my son. How can I report my own child? You're not reporting him. You're protecting yourself. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say, no more. The group shared their stories. Daughters, sons, grandchildren, all exploiters. The common thread, shame, isolation, fear of judgment. For months I thought I was alone, I said. But this happens. It's not your fault. You deserve protection. After the meeting, Linda asked, how did you get through it? One day at a time, with my sister's help, with this group, by turning pain into purpose. Emma waited by the car. She had moved to Portland 4 months ago, lived 15 minutes away, visited 3 times a week. My new life had shape now. Co-leading the weekly support group, volunteering for Oregon Elder Protection, a nonprofit, speaking at banks and senior centers about fraud prevention, creating a scholarship fund in Robert's name at Harrison Elementary, financially secure. The $400,000 in savings remained intact. The house paid off. A restraining order against Vanessa effective until 2032. At home that evening, Emma cooked dinner while I checked email. From the state legislature, your testimony helped pass new elder protection laws. From James Parker. We've implemented new fraud detection protocols based on your case. It's already helped protect others. I told Emma Robert would be proud. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of myself, too. We sat on the porch under the summer sunset, watching neighbors walk dogs, children riding bikes. An ordinary life. A beautiful life. Do you ever wonder what she's doing? Emma asked. Sometimes. Then I remember she has 8 years to think. I have the rest of my life to live. I choose to focus on my time, not hers. The phone rang. Unknown number. The old me would have panicked. The new me checked the caller ID, recognized it as spam, and declined. A simple moment of empowerment. Control over my own boundaries. Night fell. I looked at the photos on the mantel. No pictures of Vanessa, I had put them away. Instead, Robert and me at the coast. Emma on her graduation day. Cards from former students after the trial. The support group, all 15 of us standing together. The people who truly loved me had always been there. I had just been looking in the wrong direction. I was 63 years old, a widow, a retired teacher, an elder abuse survivor, an advocate. I had a sister, a community, a purpose, and peace. The phone rang again. Unknown number. I smiled. Not fear, but wisdom. Now I knew what questions to ask, how to protect myself. Some people spend their whole lives waiting to be saved by family. I had learned the truth. Sometimes, saving yourself from family is the bravest thing you will ever do. Emma's laughter echoed from the kitchen as she burned dinner again. I realized something profound. I was not alone. I would never be alone again. Because family is not who shares your blood. Family is who shows up when your world collapses. Family is who believes you. Family is who stays. I had lost a daughter, but I had found myself, and that was enough. Looking back at my story, I see now what I wish I had known 18 months ago. Family drama stories like mine happen more often than you think. They just happen quietly behind closed doors, wrapped in shame and disbelief. My advice: don't be like me. Don't ignore the warning signs because you're desperate for connection after loss. Don't mistake manipulation for care. Don't let loneliness make you blind. The lesson I learned the hardest way: love should never cost you your safety, your dignity, or your future. Real family, the kind worth keeping, does not exploit your grief. They do not study your vulnerabilities like a textbook. They do not calculate how to erase you. Grandma stories about financial abuse are not rare. We are targets because society assumes we are confused. We are isolated. We are too ashamed to speak up. But I am here to tell you speaking up saved my life. Family drama stories teach us that blood does not guarantee loyalty. Sometimes the most dangerous person is the one sitting at your dinner table calling you Mom, waiting for you to trust them one more time. Grandma stories like mine should serve as a warning. Verify everything. Trust your instincts, protect your assets, and never ever give someone access to your life just because they share your last name. By God's grace, I survived. By my sister's love, I rebuilt. By my own strength, I refused to be erased. If you are facing something similar, please document everything. Tell someone you trust. Contact law enforcement. And remember that choosing yourself over a toxic family member is not betrayal. It is survival. Grandma stories end one of two ways: in silence or in testimony. Family drama stories like mine prove that speaking the truth, no matter how painful, can save your life and protect others. I chose testimony. I hope my story helps you choose the same. Final note: this content contains dramatized storytelling elements for educational purposes. Some details are fictionalized, but the lessons and messages are entirely valuable. If this style does not suit you, that's okay. Please seek content that better fits your needs.